Well, hi, my name is Tamara and I'm with Via Customers. And for those unfamiliar with Via Customers, we are a software company whose goal is to help build meaningful, profitable, long-term customer relationships for the world's businesses with a suite of trusted mobile e-commerce tools. Before we kick things off, I want to thank you for joining us on behalf of Via Customers. We know your time is valuable and we're very grateful that you've chosen to be a part of the webinar series, which provides actionable tactics for quickly growing e-commerce companies to scale their businesses profitably. And our agenda is pretty simple. I want to introduce you to my co-host, hearing and learning from our guest speaker, and Q&A. And as we move through the webinar, the chat, just like Chaz had mentioned, is open to questions. I want to introduce you to Marie. Marie, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. Tamara, how are you?
I am doing good. I'm excited to hear from our guest speaker and introduce him. But Marie is actually going to go ahead and help us at the end after our guest speakers finish chatting with us, and her and James will go ahead and help facilitate any questions and answers for you. But I know that the Q4 is the busiest time for e-commerce brands. And one thing that rings true every year is that you have to grab your shopper's attention quickly. And our focus for the webinar is to increase traffic, create stickiness with landing pages for the quickest, simplest, and easiest way to connect with new and current customers this holiday season. And today we have the pleasure of hearing and learning from the CEO of Symphony Agency, James Van Elswyk. James is a full-fledged marketing machine. Starting as a lone wolf media buyer, he has built businesses in all aspects of online advertising. Owning multiple agencies, a network, and a direct response marketing education business, James has mastered the online advertising industry and passionately talks about anything involving clicks, from native ads, Facebook, landing page design, to copy. James, welcome.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Okay. I want to talk today about pre-sales, which I'll explain what these are because of iOS and kind of some of the updates that have happened for Facebook traffic. And I'm going to get into this, but let's talk first about like kind of who I am. I actually am not like some type of professional speaker, business owner, except for businesses that actually are involved with clicks. It's what I do. I probably spent yesterday across all my stuff, 100 grand. I probably spent like 55,000 on Facebook yesterday. I actually run media all day in a lot of different ways. So everything I want to talk about is like super actionable and stuff that I'm doing myself. I am an affiliate, which means that I run traffic for other people's offers. If you don't understand how affiliation works, basically, if you want to sell something for $100 and you can afford $30, let's say, for someone, you can afford to spend $30 to acquire a customer. You might hire somebody like me that says, hey, every time you make a sale, I'll give you $30. And then I make my money on the arbitrage of those two things. I've been doing that for 8 years. I also have an ad agency where we buy traffic for other people. The focus there is on native ads. We buy traffic on everything, but native ads like Taboola and Outbrain is a core competency. I have a lead generation business where we have our own offers. We've done a lot of stuff with like solar, refinance, things of this nature. And then obviously I have Geek Out EDU, which Via Customer is a partner of, which is a very high level learning community, mainly e-commerce brands that come together to share tactics, strategies, and get educated on how to market or run a brand more effectively. As you can see here, I love buying clicks. This is myself and some of my team at all the different traffic source offices. I mean, we were at Facebook in the California office, Facebook in the Israel office, Taboola in New York, Taboola in Israel, Snapchat. We were early beta on TikTok. I actually started running TikTok ads like December of 2020. So I was one of the first people on the platform. Google. So we run basically everywhere. And this is kind of just social proof to let you understand like what I'm going to talk about today is something that you should really think about and can be very effective. Before I even get into the topics, I kind of want to talk about, what's going on right now with iOS 14. And I think these are all principles that are applicable regardless of the quality of traffic, but I'm going to speak about iOS 14 because it's just so relevant right now. I started buying traffic on Facebook in 2012 or 2013 when it was still right-hand ads, before there were ads in the mobile newsfeed, before there were conversion events for the pixel, right? It was just buying raw clicks. Like literally our conversion event was clicks. So the traffic quality was not that good. The algorithm was not that intelligent, but the prices were much, much cheaper, right? The CPM prices were, I don't remember fully, but I know it was under $10 when I started, right? As time has gone on, the Facebook algorithm got super smart, like phenomenal smart, able to just absolutely put the right people in front of your ad at the right time. Facebook in the past, when we've met with engineers, they've told us amazing stuff that like when you set up your campaigns, they're able to predict, for example, not just how many sales you're going to make for the day with your budget, but potentially who the exact users are that are going to buy your product. And I think everybody has really had a chance to make a lot of profit off the intelligence of Facebook. Obviously, Facebook uses data from third parties, and when it's not able to get the data from Apple because of these privacy updates or fake privacy updates in reality, because I think that Apple's coming out with their own ad network, which is probably preemptively why they did this. But neither here nor there, as Apple has kind of slowed down the sharing of information to Facebook, the Facebook traffic quality has gone down because you have something that requires data and it's not getting fed that data. And iPhone data specifically is valuable data because the average order value on iPhones is very high. So what really happened here is the traffic quality went down, okay? And when I say traffic quality, that means obviously the visitors to your ads, the people that see your ads, that click your ads. But when I say the quality's gone down, what's happened here is the buyer intent has decreased. The desire to purchase things, the intent to purchase things, the accuracy of who's going to buy things has decreased. The good thing for us, and the reason I feel very confident speaking about this, is the fact that I bought traffic on Facebook before there was any of this, and it still worked. And I buy traffic on native ads where the average click-through rate is like 0.10, where obviously on Facebook, you're looking at like a 0.2, 0.3, or I'm sorry, 2%, 3%. And I'm making traffic work at 0.1, so the interest on native traffic is very low. When you are buying traffic or you are marketing something for e-commerce, it's really a lot of parts of the equation. But I think that if we take a look at it in a simple way, you have the traffic quality, so like your Facebook quality, you have your website conversion rate, which is tied into your AOV, and you have your LTV. And all of these different things add up to help you create profit, right? And I think that now, if you have a decrease in the performance of one of these variables, you have to increase the performance of your other variables. So that is increase the conversion rate of your website or increase the LTV, which obviously is a big via customer plus. I think utilizing SMS and proper relationship with your clients after the purchase has never been more important if you're trying to create profit, right? Because if the traffic quality variable has gone down, you have to increase those other variables. And that's kind of what I want to speak about today. The way that we do this is, and I'm just going to, let me see, I need to leave the presenter mode. 1 second, let me just fix something so I can leave presenter mode. I'm gonna have to toggle back and forth because I'm not too savvy. Okay, so what we use is advertorials. And this is an example. I took 2 examples here from the same company. It's another via customer. And we write copy. I have a copywriting agency and we create pages like this for people. These are some of the pages that we made. You see these all the time on the interwebs. And this is a perfect example of a advertorial, right? Advertorial is the topic of conversation today. And it's basically the combination of an advertisement and an editorial, right? So you're taking something that will help you sell the person more and will help you refine your traffic more and will help you kind of filter things so that your performance goes up. The way that it's been traditionally has been Facebook ad to product page, right? And when your traffic quality is really high, Facebook targeting is really high, it doesn't require a lot of selling to get somebody to buy something. They've already basically bought in, right? Like Facebook is showing them what they want to see, the product they've already been searching for, what they're already thinking about. They just need like a little push over the edge to show them the ad. When that traffic quality goes down or the intent gets lower, they need a little bit more selling. And that's what these pages do. So basically, 5 reasons why thousands of coffee drinkers are switching to Javi, right? It's obviously an ad, or when we look at it, we're like, yo, this is an ad. But if you're just somebody at home browsing Facebook, it's more of an educational piece. But what this is doing while it's educating is it's slowly pitching the product. So you're starting to get more and more sold on why you're interested in this product, right? It's full of caffeine. Everyone loves caffeine. It's pure coffee. You know, it's delicious. It's made with ultra pure water. There's thousands of raving fans, which makes me think like, oh, if other people like it, I like it, right? That's a major tactic. And here's something about, well, scared to try something new. We pitched the 100% money back guarantee. So slowly but surely, you're getting sold on this product. So what happens here, this increased selling helps the conversion rate get higher when they click through this page. Normally on a page like this, because everyone asked me this, so I'll just share, we're looking for about 25 to 30% of the people to click through the page. And obviously it increases the conversion rate more than that, the conversion rate of the offer page more than that, so you're able to make more profit. Here's another example. The truth about how your toxic coffee might be hurting you, right? So this is a more personal story about, I didn't just go to $5 in the morning, which is basically Starbucks, right? Talking about how it always costs $5. You can see the highlighting here, that they're spending $16 a day on coffee. So this article is like slowly selling them on Javi, selling them on this product. Now you've got the reviews, the testimonials, and then boom, you're gonna go through, click on the link, and it's gonna take you to the offer page, right? In the past, you would just run your ad right to this offer page and it would work. But now I believe the utilization of pages like this make a big difference. And as I mentioned, like yesterday, we spent a decent amount. We spent like over 50 Gs, maybe 55 Gs on Facebook. I'm not really quite sure. I didn't pull all the numbers this morning, but like 95% of all of our traffic went through pages like this. Just because we just make more money, we have a cheaper CPA, we have a higher AOV because there's more selling going on than when you go direct to the product page. So now let's get a little bit into how we build these things. So I'm just gonna stay in the presenter mode for a second and then I will, I'll switch over here. So we're gonna talk about a few things today. So first is how we research to be able to create the content correctly. And then we'll go through kind of the formulas of how we write these pages, how we design these pages and review these pages. So it's something that you can do yourself. Step 1 is we use a word cloud, okay? What we do is we go through and we take Amazon reviews. Maybe it's the best Amazon reviews, right? So we'll take our brand, competitor brands, and we copy and paste these into a word cloud. And it will show us what words are being used to talk about this product, right? So for example, obviously Javi is going to be high, United States will be high. You've got this verified purchase. This is Amazon stuff. But then if you look a little deeper, you can see like cold brew is used 14 times. So you start to be like, okay, well, obviously people are utilizing this for cold brew. And then you find like other weird outliers like Vietnamese coffee. That's a use that I would have never thought of for this. But obviously this is interesting. This is an angle, right? And we utilize this to start to find out what are the words that people are using, and what adjectives are they using to describe it, or what things are they interested in to describe it. This gives us kind of like the baseline of communication, and you can use this for everything. This isn't just for landing pages like we're talking about today. You can use this for your own Facebook ads. You can use this for video ads. I'll take my competitors' video ads. I'll have them turned into transcripts so I get all the words. on a Word doc, and then I plug them into a word cloud generator and say like, okay, well, what are the words that my competitors are using successfully to describe their product? You know, what are my Facebook comments saying? Like if I got a bunch of Facebook comments, let me go through there and plug them into a word cloud. And then I go to my copywriters, or if I'm writing this, and I know what words to use to describe my product in the language that my customers speak. Because I think that's really important to get people to resonate with what you're writing. If you're using the same verbs and adjectives that they're used to using in their life, you're going to have a lot more effective marketing. So now I'll go back into presenter mode again. So after I go through the word cloud, now it's about the format, right? What I use is something, the traditional method for writing copy to sell something is called pass, right? And we can use this for Facebook ads, we can use this for video ads, we can use this for landing pages, but this is the basic formula to sell a product, right? Products, 90% of the time, are going to solve a problem. And even things that are not fixing a problem that's like hurting us right now, it's still a problem. Like, let's say I want to make more money, right? So the problem is I don't have enough money, and I want to agitate this by talking about all the things that I can't afford to buy, right? So there's always a problem that a product should solve. And the better that we can demonstrate this problem and how we solve it, the easier it is to sell, right? So first step is problem. We want to identify up top what it is that this product is doing and what is the problem that you're dealing with. Is it sore feet? Is it too expensive coffee? Whatever the case may be. Staying in the coffee example, right? Let's say the problem is coffee's too expensive. That's the problem. Agitate is like digging the knife in the side. So it's not just that the coffee's too expensive. It's that it's so expensive you can't afford to buy other things that you want. It's so expensive that you feel ashamed to spend $7 on a latte. So you're like really digging it in to make sure the person feels the pain of their problem, not just identify it, but give something that makes it feel like tight and relevant to them so it really resonates. Then we're going to offer the solution. What's the solution? The solution is Javi coffee, right? You can have a much cheaper, faster cup of coffee if you use Javi. And then my apologies here. This says solve, it's not solve. So I'm sorry. This is sell, right? So it's problem, agitate, solution, and then sell. Show them the problem, agitate the problem, show them the solution, which is your product, and then make your pitch. What I've done here is I've updated this formula to what I call pass-ups, okay? Which is I start out with the problem, I agitate the problem, I explain the solution. Before I sell, I want to give them a little more, right? So what does that mean? Before I sell, I want to also throw in some user-generated content, testimonials, or reviews, right? In the format of my page. And again, this formula is not like, cannot be played around with. Whoa, sorry. I don't know why that just jumped like that. This formula can be adjusted as much as you want, really, but this is like the basic template of how I write things. So after my solution, I throw in user-generated content, testimonials, reviews to give a little social proof. And then I add in pacing. And basically, pacing is explaining what the person will feel after they buy the product. So you're already assuming the sale, right? So it's kind of like, for the coffee example, it can be, you know, after my first cup, I felt a nice buzz of coffee. You know, after the second sip, I started to feel this. After the first week using this product, I realized I saved X. So you want to put the person in the feeling of what they're going to have after they buy the product. And then obviously I sell them at the end. I pitch them the product at the end. What I like to do next is C.U.B, okay? C.U.B is the way that we review copy, right? So this is something that people don't do enough with any of their copywriting, their Facebook ads, their landing pages, their video scripts. We should never just write something and produce it, or write something and code it, or write something and launch the ad, because you're not getting a chance to improve it, right? So you can either do this by yourself, or you can do this and have a third party do this, Our copywriters do it for each other, where they always review each other's copy. And we use a format on how to review, not just like you read it and you say, well, that's crappy, I don't like this, or this doesn't make me want to buy, that just doesn't work. We use this format called C.U.B. We go through and we highlight what areas are confusing, what areas are hard to understand or unbelievable, and which areas are boring, right? When you start to break down your copy by this, and then you go through and improve it and you say, okay, well, that was confusing, boom, let's go through, make it less confusing. That was hard to understand or unbelievable. Like that claim was just too much. Like, I can't believe that Javi could do this with their coffee. When you go through and you correct these things preemptively, the performance of your ads, landing pages, or video scripts or whatever will increase. And finally, boring. You know, if people are bored, they're not going to read what you're trying to sell them, and they're going to bounce. And that's like the antithesis of what we want to do. When writing copy or creating video scripts, or whatever the case may be, the ultimate goal is always to write something where the person wants to read the next sentence. Sentence by sentence by sentence, you're building the story and you're keeping people engaged to get them to the next level of what they need to do. Reading levels. This is very important when we are talking about American consumers, right? Americans on the whole read really poorly, like really, really poorly. And a lot of times people make the mistake when they're writing copy to make it too complex. You can, if you use high level, large words, even if they're like perfectly accurate and it's beautifully written prose, if you write at too high of an education level, you miss a huge amount of your audience. If you write at a low enough level of reading comprehension, you'll make sure to access your whole audience. You can never speak to people too dumb. You know, that's really kind of the moral of the story here. And it's backed up by a study. If you want to hit the maximum amount of readers in the United States, you need to be at a 3rd or 4th grade reading level. Right? The American reading level on average is at 5th grade, which is shocking, but this is the reality of what we do. So you say, well, how do I dumb down my writing? How do I make sure that it can be read at the correct level? I use an app called Hemingway. So basically, when you make a video ad, when you make a landing page, when you make a Facebook ad, you stick it into this app and it will go through and review for you the quality of your copy. And make sure that it's easy to read, right? So you can prove things that are difficult, different ways that you can simplify and make your copy smaller. Like less words is always better. People's attention span, especially now with like TikTok, it's so fast. Like people just do not read anymore, right? No one is reading. Some of us are still reading books, but most of us are not reading books. Most of us are looking at like online publications and news, which is basically 3 paragraphs, like highlight, 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 and we're bouncing. We're watching Instagram. Instagram stories is even more popular than Instagram, right? So you're watching Instagram stories super fast. Then TikTok came out and they shortened our attention span even more. So Instagram countered by coming out with Instagram rules. So in reality, our attention span is like 3 to 5 seconds. That's the way our brain has been retrained through the adjusting of the neuroplasticity of the way our brain works. So when you're writing simpler and faster and more to the point is going to speak to people more. You have much less time when someone lands on your website or your ad than ever before, right? It just needs to be more succinct. And as I mentioned, you need to adjust it to get the reading level down to about 5th grade. That's a magic spot here. Reading list, if you want to take a look and figure out how to write better, which is so important. I make like everyone on my team read these books, even if they're a media buyer, right? Even if they're not a copywriter. Myself, everyone on the team reads these books to understand how to sell people things better. Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz is pretty much the most important book written on how to advertise or write copy. This book was written like 50, 60 years ago, and it's still 100% appropriate to today. The psychology of man has not changed. Made to Stick, another great book. Copy Logic. This is specifically about the copy review, like how we write something and then read it to make sure it's better. Copy Hour is a very good Facebook group and a course if you want to go down that. And then finally, there's the book Leads by Agora Financial. I just wanted to go through and give a little bit of visualization, and I know it's a little blurred out, so I apologize for this. I'm not quite sure why that's happening on the screen resolution, but I wanted to kind of walk through what this looks like in its format itself, right? So up here, this headline is kind of identifying what we're trying to do. Here in the first 5 sentences, we're going to go through the problem. Then in the next 15 sentences, we agitate. So we dig in a little bit deeper. Here, obviously, is the solution. So we're talking about, I mean, I'm assuming like some example of people that want to lose weight. The agitate is they feel uncomfortable because their pants didn't fit the way they used to, or whatever it is to help somebody resonate. And then we go into the solution. The solution here is an app that helps people lose weight. Macro Stacks it's called. We explain that for probably about at least 1/3 of the kind of first page. Then we get into the user generated content. This is like kind of an important thing here. Testimonials that say like, you know, just words with stars, they just don't work the way that they used to. We've tested this quite a bit. Nothing works better than screenshots from Instagram or Facebook. It fits into the people's brain schema. They recognize this, they trust it. It seems so much more real. When you read a paragraph or word with 4 stars, you just have to think BS. When you actually see an Instagram post where someone posts a picture, it's a real person, you know, this one is a before and after, they make a long post about it, you're like, yo, this is real. I cannot emphasize enough how much this helps. Even if you take screenshots of Facebook comments and then put those on top of your page, that'll work amazing. But it has to be something that's real. People's brain and their BS filter has gotten very good with time, and everyone marketing everybody, you know, so aggressively and fake. They just, I don't think they're even looking at the other stuff that doesn't have a picture or doesn't come from Amazon, Facebook, or Instagram, TikTok, someone talking about the product. Here we have pacing. So you can see how long do results take. And you can't see it well here, but it's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So it walks them through the steps of their weight loss journey for the 4 weeks after they purchase the product. And here's where we sell. Just how much does it cost? You can see here that this call to action button, I love this button. It's the same color as Amazon. The Amazon colored buttons, we've tested so much for e-commerce, and those buttons always win. They just convert higher. We change the language on the button. It might say watch a video. It may say learn more. It may say buy now. It may say apply. But the color that we use is always the same as the Amazon buttons. And then finally, we'll throw more testimonials after the pitch, right? So after we throw the button, if they're still wondering about it, we're either going to add money back guarantee language or more testimonials. So it's like someone went through the whole page, they scrolled down on mobile, they got to the end, they saw the price. If they didn't buy and they're still scrolling, basically they're not sold yet. So we want to give them just a little bit more reassurance. We're assuming that they're 90% there, but when someone doesn't buy, normally it's a trust issue or a risk issue. Like if they read all this and got all the way to the bottom, they're pretty warm. So we feel like you just need to give them just a little bit more trust at the end. The trust being other people like it, testimonials, or it's risk-free, there's a money-back guarantee, you can't get screwed. If you don't like the product, bring it back, right? And also sometimes we will put the money-back guarantee to the left of the button, because then you're looking at the button, you're thinking about clicking it, but you're like, yeah, no problem. I got a money-back guarantee. I'm not going to sweat this. Let's do this. So we're on that impulse level. This is my conversation about, or my presentation about advertorials and pre-sales. So I said a lot there. So maybe if you guys want to hit me with some questions, I can help on anything related to advertorials, as well as what's going on with traffic. I'm an open book. You can ask me a lot of stuff. Go for it. First questions here. Is this something you would add to your own webpage, or does a third-party site that offers pages like this? Kirsten Erickson, great question. So there's a few different ways about this, right? Some people like to make it a sub page to your website. So if it's Javi Coffee, you might do like try.javicoffee or blog.javicoffee, right? What we do as well, and it depends if it's our internal offers or if it depends with our partners. I'll give you an example. If I give myself a compliment and I say, man, I'm a good looking guy, it just seems arrogant. If someone else says, wow, James is a good looking guy, it seems more believable because it came from another person, right? So if I'm reading a review of Javi Coffee and I see that the review page or the listicle page is from Javi Coffee, I'm gonna believe it less. So we will use third-party pages. Those pages are like maybe like coffeereviews.com, right? Seems much more trustworthy than try Javi Coffee. From a technical point of view as well, because some of the brands that we work with, they feel more comfortable having it come from a third-party website, right? Because then they don't have like the same liability, the same claims. It just seems stronger to them. So you can go one of two ways. You can do it from a third party. I think it does help the conversion rate some. And I think you could be more aggressive on the copy and the claims. Or, you can run it on the same thing. From an actual operational technical point of view for the construction of these pages, there are different apps that you can use in front of Shopify, right? You can use, and anybody can correct me, but I think you got like Zipify, Shogun, stuff like this. Obviously, you can use ClickFunnels or Instapages. I don't recommend ClickFunnels. It loads very slow. Like it can be good in the beginning to test quickly, but it loads pretty slow. But Instapages is a good option for it. We personally just whip these up on HTML. It's the fastest. And then we just put like a link on the button of the advertorial that takes them directly to the product page. So yes, that would be the breakdown there, if that helps. Awesome. Brian Marshall, any comments on video in ads versus text, considering the low attention span and popularity of video you already mentioned on IG, FB, etc.? Any comments on video in ads versus text, considering the low attention span? So I'll try to answer this. I don't think I understand it fully, but I'll throw something out there anyway, because you kind of triggered an idea and a little hack that we've been using that's been effective. Speaking to like ads, right? I'll say this right now, image ads are getting us much cheaper costs than video ads. So image ads have much cheaper CPMs, and it's a way to help bring down the CPM on the ad account, right? So I definitely recommend trying image ads right now. And especially since you can put a lot of text inside of the image ad, I would try that. We're always launching image ads, GIFs, and video ads and trying to see what works and what helps get our CPMs down and helps get our CPA up. The one thing that we use now to touch on the low attention span is we test all our video ads at different speeds. So we might make a video ad, then we'll make another version at 1.25 speed, and we'll make another version at 1.5 speed. And like almost always now, the 1.25 and the 1.5 speed is beating the normal speed. People's brains are like so sped up already that they kind of want to see it faster, it seems. So that would be my comment on videos in ads, if that's relevant. Oh, the other thing is on Facebook, nobody listens to video ads with the sound on. It's only like, I don't know, 30%. So if you're running video ads, you have to add subtitles, like 1,000,000%. We use a service called rev.com that helps create the subtitles for us. So it does it kind of quicker. It's just like a third-party service. They can usually bang it out in quick 25 minutes. Also, we utilize this. We like to take stuff, even if your website is in English, your product is in America, whatever. We also always split test Spanish, right? Because like if you live in the United States and you speak Spanish, you probably also speak English, but the cost to advertise in Spanish is always almost cheaper, and it's way more eye-catching when you see your own language. Like if you're traveling in another country, like you're in Germany or Russia, and you see English, your eyes pop because you're like, yo, I don't see that very often. So advertising in Spanish is phenomenal. And even like really crazy, we used to do this a lot for solar lead generation, which the whole sales process was in English. The landing page was in English, the offer page was in English, but we realized that we got much cheaper prices, we got a much higher CTR, we got a better audience. But if someone was installing solar panels, it means that they had to buy a house. If someone had to buy a house, they had to fill out the document for the banks in English. So we started running in Spanish and crushed it for a while. We even tested Mandarin Chinese, and we ran ads in Chinese, and even that worked. So I definitely like, because of the fact that you need to use subtitles, if you don't want to get like someone to do a full Spanish voiceover, you can definitely test English video ads, but use subtitles in a different language and see how that works for you. Okay, Archits, if I said that correctly. We are testing an advertorial article, first person with Taboola. Beautiful, that's my baby, Taboola, we run a lot. How do you recommend optimizing if there's under 15% click-through rate to product page? Would you test new content or make tweaks to the existing? Fantastic question. This is what I do all day, every day. So, okay. We try to keep the cost as low as possible to find stuff out, right? So a 10 to 15% click-through rate is not terrible. You really would like to be in that 20, 25% range to make it pop, depending on the length and how many call to action buttons, where the call to action buttons located, et cetera. The biggest needle mover on advertorials, especially on natives, is the top headline, the sub headline, and the top image. So if I've got something that's like almost hitting and I think it's there and the body copy is pretty good, I will just start split testing the top headline. So I'll do the same image and like 3 different top headlines. And then I'll do the same top headline in 3 different images. I'll run those tests depending on the cost per acquisition of your product, maybe like 300 to 500 clicks. Like if it's really bad and it's like a dead loser against your control, I might kill it after 300 clicks. If it's something good, I'll run 500 clicks. And then I'll take the winners of those 2, I'll combine them and see if I can beat my overall control. In order to these advertorials, really, it's all about the angle, right? So for example, like we're running ads for a company called Nugenics, right? And we had a winning headline that's like, feel younger, lose weight, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, we'll start breaking those into pieces and trying to decide what is the actual needle mover for this product. Is it feel younger or is it lose weight? And if we have advertorial ideas, we'll start to take and test different angle ideas in the headline, evaluate the click-through rate of the headline, then use those for the big headlines on top of the advertorials to try to beat it. If you're at a 10 to 15% click-through rate, assuming that the traffic is pretty good, you're probably in a good place to start making tweaks. And then on even a little bit more advanced level, let's say you tweak it out a little bit, right? And you get it up to that 15 to 20%, but you're not totally there yet. We use mouse flow for our heat mapping, and we start to pay attention to where the drop off is. Is it in the top section, middle section, bottom section, or top third, whatever? And we start to optimize those sections more. So we'll say like, all right, section 1 is working, people are reading it. Section 2, there's a drop off. Let's put in a GIF. Let's put in a testimonial. Let's put a box, like a Johnson box. Let's highlight some text, and we'll start playing around with the layout, or we'll start playing around at the bottom. 10 to 15% is solid. You may want to test a new angle completely, or you might want to analyze where you're losing people. Like maybe they're engaged once they get going. So I would recommend split testing or using mouse flow as a heat map software to understand what the problems are. Also, I don't know what you're running, but on Taboola, we use a third-party tracker called Volume, which is, to us, it's completely necessary, right? We do not feel comfortable optimizing out of the Taboola dashboard. The data is not that reliable. And we try to analyze our data in conjunction of the publisher that the site is on and the landing page. What that means is, not to go too deep on natives, but I want to really expound on your question. When you run on native ads or display or Outbrain or whatever the case may be, you might have 1,000 different publishers that your ads are being shown on. Your landing page click-through rate is going to be the aggregate of all of these sites. So let's say you have some sites that are great, Fox News, CNN, fantastic performance, good quality traffic. You may have mixed in a bunch of trashy viral sites that are bringing down the overall landing page CTR. So you want to be able to look at the landing page click-through rate on a site-by-site basis. And then eventually, if you want to go crazy with optimization, like you already have a winning landing page, we set up rotation so that we have specific landing pages that go to specific traffic sources. So Fox News may end up with a separate page than CNN and a separate page from, Forbes or Breitbart or whatever the case may be. That was a very expansive conversation or explanation. Archie, you're welcome. Brian Marshall, great, thank you. Regarding traffic, our website traffic is down almost 50% compared to January 2021. Has been slowly eroding each month. Sales are up, thankful, but we're now starting to see it affect sales now. Any other suggestions to boost traffic? Yeah. Like none of these are like a silver bullet, but there's some different things here. One thing that's like super old school, but it's working for us again, is running multiple accounts, right? So like we have problems getting ad sets to spend more than $600 to $800. We are running bid cap to control costs, and then we are running mainly ABO, and we are cloning ad accounts. So we'll launch a bunch of ad accounts, we'll change the creatives a little bit, we'll run bid cap and try to scale by scaling ad accounts, which is completely old school, but it is something that works when traffic quality is bad, because like we'll be able to make things work at a lower budget, and then when we try to scale, it just dies. So instead of trying to scale budgets up too high, we will start cloning ad sets. We'll just clone the same things, change something a tiny bit, or we'll clone ad accounts. Other thing is we definitely have seen some success targeting Android only. I think there's something there, just excluding the iOS traffic. But like long story short, we use a third-party tracking software called Hyros, which allows us to see what's actually happening. It's actually a pretty good product. Like it's not going to change the game, but it does let us see what's really happening, right? You can also use like Mixpanel, because you have two issues with the iOS 14 update, right? You have the fact that you can't see what's going on, but more importantly, Facebook can't see what's going on. Or more accurately, they can see what's going on, they can't use the data. So when we use Hyros, which is a fingerprinting software, which basically is identifying the user, creating a profile for them, and it allows you to track the user cross-browser. It allows you to track the user regardless of what it says in the Facebook Ads Manager. We can see what's really happening, right? Which is cool because it helps us know what to do or what not to do, because Facebook is either underreporting or not showing you all the conversions that are there because they're not able to show you those iPhone conversions, or they're using kind of estimations of what they think is happening, but it's not really happening. So I can tell you firsthand that what's really happening and what's happening in the Ads Manager is not the same. You probably look in Shopify or your CRM and you see X amount of conversions, and then you go in and you take a look at what you see in the Ads Manager, you don't see the same. This kind of sucks, but if you think about it, right? If you traditionally know Facebook, you need to have X amount of conversions per day. That number has changed over all the years, but I think it's probably like 25 a day or something. I don't even know what the number is anymore. Well, when you start to remove the iOS conversions going into the Facebook algorithm, there's just less data going in there, right? So by running at higher budgets and trying to get more conversions to your campaigns or your ad sets, right? If you're missing 40% of the conversions, which is what my estimate is of how many iOS conversions are missing, you want to increase the spend on the campaigns by 40% to try to jack more conversions in there on a one-day click model to try to get it to be fed a little bit better. So to recap here, spend more, even though that sucks because it's like you got a lot of losing campaigns and this type of stuff. So I don't know if that's the best advice. I would say bid cap, cloning winning ad sets, and cloning ad accounts is probably the best way to get your spend up. The cloning ad accounts is like, it's something that used to be super common, and then Facebook doesn't want you to do that, and it goes against the way they say you should buy, but like, who cares, right? Like, for another vertical that we run, we do content arbitrage. We literally created 100 ad accounts yesterday, right? So if I can get like a profitable 500 to $1,000 100 times, that's a whole bunch of money. And what we found is we'll have some accounts that we can get to spend profitably at, we haven't launched the full 100, but like we just launched 20 for this one client. And like, we'll have one account that'll spend 8 G's. We'll have one account that'll spend $90. It's all pretty much the same content. It's all bid cap, but it's at least all staying inside of the ROAS requirements that we have to hit. So it's stable. It's just a little bit annoying, but this does work. And other people have started to talk about it also. And it just goes back to the stuff that worked 5 years ago or 4 years ago, we're bringing back. So I think that this is another way to do it. Yeah, the cloning account things, that's like some old school shit that we used to rock super hard, sorry my language. We used to rock super hard, and I don't know if you want to do this, but this is like another gangster hack. We used to run it in different currencies. So like we would pick different currencies for our accounts and see if we could get some cool arbitrage there. So we'd run some accounts in euros, some accounts in dollars, some accounts in shekels. Like we try to do everything we can to help hack the algorithm. Because sometimes you find those little loopholes. Is Google Ads being affected by iOS problem? Yeah, Google is also being affected by the iOS problem. The only one that seems to not being affected by the iOS problem really is TikTok. And I'm not sure if it's they don't care about the privacy rules, like if they're just not paying attention to the Apple privacy rules. Because at the end of the day, all of these platforms, they still have the data. They absolutely know what's happening just like they did before, right? Because you can just watch what's happening on the device. But I don't know why, but it seems like TikTok is still able to make it work. It's either that or the tracking is more based on the thank you page URL than it is on the pixel. I don't know why, but it's the only one that's not really being affected. Snap is getting affected. Google's getting affected. Facebook is getting affected. Native ads actually are not being affected really. There's a little bit of spillover effect because the prices have gone up a little bit because all the people that are fleeing Google and Facebook have moved over to native ads. But native ads is not using as much of those conversion events because it's not as much of an algorithm focused platform. It's not as intelligent. It's much more of a manual thing. It's the click-through rate multiplied times the click creates the revenue, the eCPM, the revenue per CPM for the publisher. The higher that is, the more traffic that you get. So TikTok and native ads are good options. Google and Facebook are kind of messed up. Yeah, what can I say about that? Oh, another thing, as far as keeping the cost down, when you launch those new accounts, and look, a lot of this is like hearsay, right? So it's none of it is like, I can say, oh, I've tested this all and it works. A lot of this is just what I gather for myself and other people in the community or other people that I know that spend a lot of money. The big thing right now is the CPM prices. It's not just that the algorithm is dumber, but it's just that the costs have gone up so much, right? So we have accounts, or we have, for one of my brands, we used to have $65 CPMs before this update happened, right? And now we're like at $120 CPMs. So one of the beautiful things about launching these new accounts is you'll get lucky and you'll get some accounts that have lower CPMs than the other ones. And I don't know why this is. I think there are genetics to the accounts when they're created based on like, well, when was the account created? Where was the overall operating system at that? Because they're like updating it every 2 days. So there's like a genetic portion of that happens to the accounts before you get them. But then there's also what I call like the behavioral conditioning if the accounts are babies, right? So like the first 500 impressions, if you have one account where it converts 4 times and you have another account that just doesn't get a conversion on those first 500 impressions, those accounts will be different based on that super early experience. So what we do now when we launch a new account is we will run PPE campaigns, we will run video view campaigns for like 3 to 5 days. And then after 3 to 5 days, we'll run traffic campaigns. And then after that, we switch over to conversion campaigns. So basically we're warming the campaigns up with low CPM, high intent traffic. And then we're switching it over to conversion-based traffic. So we're trying to like game it into giving us lower CPMs. Another thing you can do as well is run PPE ads on top of your conversion ads, because like what is Facebook going to do now that it doesn't have as much tracking from iOS? Google and Facebook both are going to focus more on the engagement of the ads because they can track that. So like video views, this is going to be a way to understand that this ad creative works, even if they don't have that conversion data available to them. So working on increasing the engagement of your good ads or the video watch time and things that happen on platform will help you increase the conversion rate and lower CPAs. So look, none of this is like take it to the bank. This is all stuff that we're seeing from spending or talking to people or stuff that really worked in the past. But I feel pretty strong about a lot of this information. It's all worth testing.
James, thank you for sharing that. That was super helpful. I wanted to ask one question really quick if I could. I know we're getting close on time, but what is something that you would say for those that are interested in VIA? How would you take advantage of VIA with your strategy that you're doing right now?
Okay, so a couple of things here. One is if you're not utilizing VIA for the long term to squeeze out more revenue, you're just like messing up, because if the cost of traffic is higher, you need more revenue to still make profit, right? So that's step one. I would put such a focus on building your own list, right? Because right now, everyone is kind of screwed because we're all dependent on Facebook and Google, right? Well, when you build an SMS list and an email list, you essentially have your own traffic source, right? So that when times are tough, you got a list of 300, 400, a million people, you can still bang out good revenue without, the dependency on these traffic sources. The second thing is aggressive messaging to get upsells, right? So like whether it be on SMS or whether it be via email, after someone orders, hit them immediately with like a 20-minute offer. Like, yo, we have another offer for you that expires in 20 minutes. Bang up that AOV a little bit higher, make more room. And lastly, another nice thing we do called a 0-day sequence is we'll send out a message, either email or text, being like, hey, we're putting together your offer. We're putting together your order. This is James at the warehouse. I'm putting together your offer. Do you want me to throw in another bottle for 50% off? Right? So you can utilize with creative ways to get your AOV up. And I think that I'm talking today about how to increase the conversion rate of your page, right? But at the end of the day, if you increase any of it, it's going to get better. Because increasing the quality of the traffic, which is what everyone focuses on, and obviously we just talked about all different ways to hack the algo, that's a much more short-term fix. Where before, I think SMS and email was like kind of the cherry on the sundae, where you're like, hey, there's an extra 20%, 25% revenue. This is cool. Well, now it's like do or die. Like these CPMs are not going to go down more. The next thing is I would absolutely test list building, right? Which is basically lead generation at its core. Let me just take a sip of coffee here. I would run ads to build lists for SMS and message it and see if you can get positive ROI. Because Facebook, lead generation on Facebook still works really well, right? And I'm running leads right now. Still works really well. Why does it work really well? They don't need as much information to get somebody to fill out a form. There might be a lead right now for Medicare that's worth $16. It's a lot easier to get someone to fill out a form for $16 than buy something for $16. So what happens? The conversion rate of the offer is higher. So like right now, Medicare lead, for example, it's like a 10% conversion rate, right? Well, what does that mean? That means there's more conversions per CPM. So Facebook is getting fed a bunch more data into the algorithm more frequently, which allows it to optimize faster. And it requires less information to get someone to fill out a form, or it requires less traffic quality or buyer intent to get someone to fill out a form as opposed to buy something. Now, if you were to run lead ads, and I don't mean in the Facebook platform lead ads, but I mean lead generation ads, getting people to opt in to an SMS list, you are going to have good quality traffic for this. You're going to be able to do this affordably. Then you just need to see how well you can monetize that. So I would absolutely set up campaigns to do lead generation to build your SMS list. And then what I would do is I would remarket the people with your product that do not sign up for the SMS. Or I would take, for example, the people that watch your videos, your video ads, let's say 25%, 50%, whatever, that they're bought in, I would then run them ads to get them to opt into SMS. Like they were already interested in your product, now get them to opt in for the SMS. If they already purchased, run ads to say like, hey, thank you for your purchase. But guess what? If you sign up for our SMS list, you can get more discounts and get them to opt into your SMS. But I would make sure that every single person that interacts with your web properties, that you pitch them one way or another to get bought into your SMS. Otherwise, you're really leaving money on the table for the long term.
No, I appreciate that, James. Thank you. I'm excited to share that information with some of my clients that were not able to make it today. So that was a question that they had asked. And it looks like we have one more question in the chat.
Are TikTok ads as effective as Facebook ads? Can you optimize for conversions? You can optimize for conversions, and for the right product, they're pretty effective. Like, I don't think it has the scalability yet that Facebook has, but it has more affordable prices. So you can have a lower converting offer, but because the CPMs are so much cheaper, it will work. I know a bunch of people that spend good money on TikTok ads. Let's say good money being 10 to 15K a day. I don't really know many people that are spending 50 to 100K a day, but if you have some nice high ROI, you're getting people into your funnel cheaply, you're remarketing them, you're using it to get people to opt into your SMS. I think TikTok is very well worth the try. I will say this, the content needs to be TikTok based content. Like, you can't just take something that works on stories on Instagram, like that style or Snap, and switch it over to TikTok very effectively. You need to make something that actually works. And also the creative refresh here is super fast. You need to be refreshing creatives a lot. But yes, TikTok is something that does work.